Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today's build is going to be the Hammerdin, which will be the Paladin using hammer throw, and we're going to be using it as an orbiting hammer throw, just like you would in normal D2. But in this, we're not going to be using the Void Novas, we're not going to be using the chaining, we're just going to orbit. We're going to have multiple hammers on each cast, and we're going to be doing more damage against stunned enemies. We're going to take all the more damage nodes. We're going to, in our passives, takes a lot of the flat throwing damage, physical damage that you can get, and we're going to do a lot of stacks of bleed. Now your hit damage is going to be really good, and then the bleed damage afterwards will be pretty decent. You'll also leech a lot of that damage, which is going to give you really high survivability, and it lets you face tank all of the bosses. It also lets you go into the arena to a couple hundred waves, and the damage that you'll be doing with it is going to be, depending if they're stunned or not, you can do up to 2 or 3k crits on enemies. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the skills. For skills, we're running Vengeance, Hammer Throw, Holy Aura, Lunge, and Shield Throw. For Vengeance, we're using this to get our mana back, and while we're getting mana back with it, it's also nice as a damage boost and for a damage reduction, so it helps with your survivability. It also increases your hammer throw damage. We have 1 point in double ripostal, 5 points for rapid strikes to increase the attack speed so that you can get mana back faster, 5 points in dark duelist so that we have 100% increased global damage whenever we're preparing to ripostal. What's nice about that is that does increase the damage that you are doing with hammer throw. 1 point in zealot's technique so we have an additional ripostal, 3 points in executioner for more damage against damaged enemies, because more than likely they've already been hit by hammer throw, and if you have to use vengeance, why not do more damage with it, and 5 points in boister so that we have 30% less damage taken when we've hit an enemy in the last few seconds with vengeance. For hammer throw, we have 1 point in rapid throw for some increased attack speed. That's just to unlock the weighted hammers node. 5 points in here gives you 100% more hit damage, which is huge for this build, and 50% reduction speed of your projectiles. The reason that's also useful is when the hammers move slower, it's much easier to aim them to hit more enemies as you move your character around, as they'll be moving with you as you move. 1 point in force of impact to unlock overwhelm. We have 4 points in overwhelm. This gives you more hit damage versus stunned enemies. It also increases the stun duration by your hammers that have afflicted the enemies with stun. The duration is increased by 120%, which means they'll be stunned for almost 1 second, which is huge. 1 point in winged hammers, 1 point in steadfast path, 2 points in catapult for some extra projectiles, 1 point in iron spiral, so they will now spiral. This also halves the number of extra projectiles that you had. So you have 1 normally, you added 4, that's a total of 5. This rounds up, so if you have that, you get 2.5 rounded to 3. So you now have 3 projectiles. 3 points in Zealot's Conviction gives you a chance to deal double damage. This 39% stacks with the 1 point in Steadfast of 35% for a total chance of 74% chance to deal double damage with every hammer throw hit. And 1 point in Hammer Vortex so that the hammer spiral orbits not only around you, but with you as you move your character. For Holy Aura, we will not have this on autocast. We're just going to have it on our skill bar so that we get the passive effects. We have 2 points in Call to Arms, 4 points in Strength from Afar, 4 points in Expedite. That's for the throwing attack speed. You have a chance to gain haste so you can move really fast on hit. You have throwing attack damage increase and increased throwing attack stun chance. 1 point in Fanaticism for the attack speed. 2 points in Shelter from the Storm to unlock Mighty Shield, and against the odds we have 3 points in that and 4 points in Mighty Shield for the increased health gained on block, the increased block effectiveness, and the ward gained on block. For Lunge, we're using this as our movement skill. It's also going to help you move very fast through monoliths as you can just keep lunging to the next enemy. It also gives you a big boost in critical strike chance. It gives you a little bit of damage, and it also makes you invulnerable while lunging, which is helpful if you need to get through a pack of mobs and you don't want to take hits. We have 4 points into the fray for 120% increased hit area, 1 point in deadly aim for increased base crit chance, 3 points in tactician so that it's more mana efficient and our cooldown is 30% faster so that we can use it more often. 4 points in Forge On so that we have 100% increased armor for 2 seconds after lunging. 1 point in Unstoppable so that we're invincible while lunging. 1 point in Initiative. Now whenever we use Lunge, we'll get an Initiative buff for 4 seconds. This gives us 40% more damage and 40% more crit chance. With 5 points in Avengers Charge, that 40% becomes 240% increased crit chance, which definitely helps your hammers crit more often. And 1 point in Brigade, so that we gain 5 more armor per point of Dex. This isn't huge, but there was nowhere else we could really put the point that made more sense since we do have a little bit of Dex on the build. Shield Throw is not our main damaging skill. It's going to have a cooldown, but it does give us increased damage and increased armor, which is nice. We have 5 points in Polished Steel to highly reduce the mana cost of our skill. With 1 point in Ricochet, that brings that cost back up by 4 for the additional Ricochet. Our cost is only 0 mana, which is nice. It's still a free skill, and it comes with a 2-second cooldown, so you can put it on auto cast and it will go off every 2 seconds. The reason you want it to constantly be going off is with 4 points in Throwing Arm, we have 100% increased throwing attack damage. That's global, which means it will affect hammer throws damage for 4 seconds after you've used Shield Throw. With a 2-second cooldown, it means you can have 100% uptime with this. We have 2 points in Heavy Shield to increase its base physical damage, 2 points in Crippling Throw to increase its stun chance. Both of those were to unlock the Throwing Arm. 1 point in Spike Plates so that it'll do 50% more damage based on your block chance. 2 points in Armoring Aegis for more armor granted on Ricochet. And 3 points in Colossus. While it's on cooldown, which will be all the time, you'll have 75% increased armor. For passives, we have 20 points in the base Sentinel class, with 2 points in Juggernaut, 8 points in Fearless, 5 points in Armor Clad, and 5 points in Time and Faith for that mana gained when we use Vengeance. If you're really wanting to maximize upon your dodge, you can easily lose 5 of the points separated between Juggernaut and Fearless and put them into Gladiator. We have 0 points in Void Knight. We have over 25 points in the Forge Guard. We actually have 18, 23, 24, 32 points in the Forge Guard, with 8 of them in Weapons Master, 5 of them in Steel Aegis, 10 points in Pedest, 1 point in Guardian, and 8 points in Siege Captain, all of that to give us a lot more base physical throwing attack damage with the Hammer Throw, and for us to get some more stun chance. And then for our mastered class, the Paladin, we have 59 points, 8 points in Conviction, 6 points in Defiance, 8 points in Valor, 10 points in Staunch Defender, 3 points in Inner Flame, 4 points in Shield Wall, 10 points in Holy Precision, and 10 points in Penance, so that each one of those hammers comes with 200% bleed chance. For items, there are 2 types of idols that you can wear, so I would just wear whichever one you have more of, although they will change the playstyle just slightly. The first one is going to give you 1.9%, anywhere from 1 to 2.5% of damage leached as health on hit, and it also comes with a chance to bleed on hit while high on health. Now, because of the leech, you'll always be high on health until you're about to die, of course, which is going to let you 1, leech more damage, and 2, you'll always be afflicting more bleed, which will then again, since you're leeching damage, going to give you even more of the damage leached. Of course, that's not from this itself, but from the Bleeding Heart that we wear will give us all damage leached as health. The other idol that you can wear is the 1x4 stand-ups that come with % increased stun chance with throwing attacks. They also can have a suffix of % increased physical damage over time. The reason that these ones will also work really well is, 1, they're going to super increase your stun chance, and because when you stun, you then hit for more damage with Hammer Throw, it means more damage, so even though you have less leech, you're going to be leeching the same amount roughly, because you'll be doing about double the damage. And then also you have % increased physical damage over time, which is going to increase the bleed damage that all of your bleed stacks will be applying, and you're also leeching some of that damage. So you can play with either one of these, it just depends on which ones you have more of. I play with both of them, and they have about the same survivability. We are also wearing 2 uniques. I am wearing the Undisputed. The reason I went with this is because when we use Vengeance, we are hitting a character with a melee skill, which will increase our physical damage because they'll be bleeding. That'll make Hammer Throw do more damage. You can wear any weapon that you want. It doesn't have to be this unique. It can be a handcrafted one with bleed chance. You can do anything you want. But Undisputed also comes with percent of overkill damage that leeches health, which is just a little bit more leech for you to have for survivability. The other unique we're wearing is the Bleeding Heart. Because we're not using any spells and we're not casting Holy Aura, we just have it on the skill bar. We'll never make ourselves bleed, but we will be leeching 6.3% of all damage, including the bleed damage over time, as health, which is huge and definitely going to help with your survivability. For our helm, we are wearing a winged helm with set necrotic and poison, vitality, increased bleed effect, and increased physical damage and bleed duration. You can also have mana gained on vengeance use if you have mana issues. For our chest, we have added dex, added vite, increased physical and bleed duration, increased bleed effect. For our shield, since we are trying to get as much block percentage as possible, we went with a solar shield. We added block chance. We have health gained on block, we have percent reduced damage taken on block, and some flat health. For our rings, we have some increased stun chance, so we went with ruby rings. We have throwing attack physical damage base added, along with -3 throwing attack mana cost, and we have throwing attack speed. We put that on both of our rings to reduce the cost, increase the damage, and increase the speed at which we can cast the hammer throw. For our belt, we have set necrotic and poison and set physical and void. We also have increased and hybrid health. For our relic, we went with a stained tome, which has leech on health on hit, which is going to increase. The 26% increased health leech also applies to the global damage leech that you get from the Bleeding Heart, so it's very helpful. For our boots, we went with increased health and flat health. We have increased armor, and we have set necrotic and poison. And for our gloves, set necrotic and poison, some more leech, flat health, and hybrid health. For our character sheet, you can see that we're actually not capped on some of our resistances. Mostly that's because I didn't put a crafted amulet on that actually had the 4th set necrotic and poison and the 4th void and physical. So you can do that or stick with the Bleeding Heart. Our survivability was still great even though we didn't have capped resistances. We had so much leech going on with the Bleeding Heart that we were able to keep ourselves at full health a long time. That's right, you could face tank all the bosses, and we went over 200 waves in the arena and didn't have any issues. We have just over 2400 armor for 34% damage reduction. We have 61% block. When we do block, it's another 50% damage reduction. For the playstyle and the skill rotation of this build, what I do is I put Lunge and Shield Throw both on autocast, and then I just instantly lunge and I'll constantly use Shield Throw, so I'll keep up that buff at all times. Then occasionally I'll use Vengeance, especially if I need mana, and after that you just spam your hammers, use Vengeance to get your mana back, and then spam some more hammers. As you can see, it hits for some pretty decent damage, especially against the training dummy, but you'll still hit pretty hard. 1000 damage hits is about what you'll see for crits on the enemies, and it's a big AoE as well. You're going to clear mobs as they try to come towards you, so you can constantly have hammers up and doing good damage. Now, if you don't have any mana issues, if you have some more attunement, or if you have more mana, or if you just like using Vengeance more and you constantly have your mana full, feel free to also use Holy Aura. However, for its mana cost, I like to just have it passively on there and we don't actually activate it. Alright, I'm going to give you guys some more gameplay.